It's come to my attention that I've offended some people with an observation I made in my 2020 documentary, What Would Jesus Do on Election Day? Here's what I said back in 2020 that was found to be offensive.
I'm not sure how you can follow Jesus and vote Republican. You're going to have to pick a side. Are you going to follow the teachings of Jesus? Or are you going to vote Republican and keep your taxes low and not help the people that Jesus wants us to help?
I stand by that statement. Certainly in the political environment since Donald J. Trump has become the de facto leader of the Republican Party. I doubt I would have made such a harsh statement under the George H. or W. Republican Party. But Trumpian politics represents the worst in human nature. So whether we know it or not, our vote represents our values. If you don't really care about women's equality, you can vote Republican. If you don't ultimately care about civil rights for all minority groups, then you can vote Republican. If you care about these issues, you can vote Democratic. Now I hear people say, whoa, I care about women's rights. I care about civil rights. I'm not a racist or xenophobic or misogynistic, and I'll take them at their word. But if those are truly your values, then why are you voting Republican? And evidently against your own values. That's why I say what I said. You have to vote your values. If tax cuts override your values, then vote Republican. If you want to deal with immigration and all of God's children in a humane and thoughtful manner, vote your values and vote for the Democrats. The majority of Americans are indeed good people, but they need to stop voting Republican until their message of fear, hate, and the demonization of others stops. Full stop. Perhaps in the future we can have a thoughtful discussion on the amount of legal immigration there should be in our policies. But until then, you have voted your values with Donald J. Trump, and I'll stick with my statement. You can follow the teachings of Jesus or vote Republican, but you can't do both. You have to pick where your values really matter. Here's the entire comment I made about following the true teachings of Jesus in this political environment.
The main policy positions of the Republican Party go against the teachings of Jesus. Jesus was mainly concerned about the welfare of the sick and the poor. He was also concerned about the wealthy taking advantage of those less fortunate. The tenets of small government, low taxes, free market capitalism, restrictions on immigration, increased military spending, deregulation and restrictions on labor unions, all these tenets go against helping the sick and the poor. Do low taxes help the poor? Does free market capitalism help the sick? Does restricted immigration help God's children? Does increased military spending help the homeless? Does deregulation and restrictions on labor unions help the poor trying to get a living wage so they can pull themselves up by the bootstraps? I'm not sure how you can follow Jesus and vote Republican. You're going to have to pick a side. Are you going to follow the teachings of Jesus? Or are you going to vote Republican and keep your taxes low and not help the people that Jesus wants us to help? Here's the thing. If you're well off, you don't need a big government. You don't need universal health care. You don't need a great public educational system. You don't need a social safety net. Your money and wealth is your personal social safety net. It's the poor and the sick that need a bigger government that provides critical public assistance. It's the poor and the sick that need increased taxes for universal health care. It's the poor and working class that need strong unions. The titans of industry and corporate America don't need strong unions. They need a Republican Party that is trying its best to undo the strength of unions that historically provided Americans with well-paying jobs. Jesus teaches us to advocate for the downtrodden, the powerless, and the marginalized. Jesus was in essence a community organizer, trying to help people, teaching us to love our neighbors both near and far. When Barack Obama ran for the presidency in 2008, he was lambasted by the right for being a community organizer. Why would Jesus vote with a party that thinks being a community organizer is less than? There is a through line starting with Barry Goldwater to Donald Trump. That line is fear. Fear of the other. fear of sharing the abundance that America has provided specifically to white Americans. Jesus' message was one of hope. It was one of raising people up. The Republican Party is a party of fear, not hope. It's a party keeping what's yours and not raising people up. It's obvious Jesus is not going to align himself with the Republican Party. Thankfully, the Democratic Party is about hope. It's about raising people up. It's a party that looks like the diversity of America. It's a party embracing inclusion, equity, and the teachings of Jesus, providing for the sick and the poor. Jesus could find a home in the Democratic Party, but he would certainly be asking the same question to both parties. Why aren't you doing even more to help all of God's children?